AI generated code? Oh, honey, that will come out just like Mom's spaghetti.
Welcome back. We're on episode 3. If you haven't been following along, there's another 2 episodes where I introduced the project that we're doing here, and we also have one refactor session where we refactored the command design pattern into something more manageable and more object-oriented. The command pattern that Claude came up with was just a map with functions, standard function pointers. I didn't like that, and that's just my personal opinion. I've implemented that in the past, and it's just not as clean. Anyway, the project is an offline random password generator. It's in C++. I had Claude write everything in Claude, not in Claude code, because I didn't expect this to be such a large project. I didn't expect Claude to create a bunch of documentation and tests. I didn't want all that. But I looked at it as an opportunity. I kind of wanted a starting point, and I didn't specify that. What I got was something a little more useful for these purposes. So in a turn of events, I did say that I was going to take out this interactive component. I took out the interactive feature because I didn't think that was useful. I didn't record that. I just wanted to remove it from the project to make the project a little more easy to look at. In doing that, sort of exposed what Claude did, and it deleted the entire command infrastructure that we built in the last episode, because that was only for the interactive session. So it literally had 2 ways to process this. So it built a command map with function pointers for the interactive mode, and then it had a giant list of if-else chains all over the place here for using flags, that's crazy to me. Anyway, it worked. Like I said before, it was functional. So what we're going to do today is actually refactor this, which is what I thought was going to be refactored. Now, I apologize. I normally wouldn't do this. If I was to build an application like this, I would ask Claude to build me a template for a new C++ application with a main function and start from there and build out from scratch using what I think would be the best infrastructure for whatever project it is. I decided to do this because I find a lot of vibe coders get into this. I say vibe coders, developers that use AI to write apps for them. They get to a point like this where they have this functioning software, and then something happens. They can't figure out how to fix it, and you chase it back and forth with the AI and say, hey, can you fix this? This is broken. Okay, now this is broken. Now that's broken. Now I know this because I've done it, and I see a lot of people sort of chasing their tail, and then they have to go to Fiverr or somewhere to hire a developer to come in and help them fix this product that's in production that they don't understand how it works. So I sort of see this as an opportunity. I will have future either playlists, instructional videos, or courses or something built on how to design software from the ground up instead of going backwards and trying to reverse engineer it with AI. AI doesn't always know how to reverse engineer even its own code sometimes, so I think that's pretty scary to understand if you're a non-developer or a new developer that really has a hard time sort of comprehending some complex code, because to be honest, AI can really generate some very indirect code or use different algorithms that are a little more complicated than they kind of need to be. I don't know. There's a lot of gray area. It's all over. And it really, sometimes it depends on the model you're using. I'm impressed with some models. I'm not impressed with others. Speed is another thing. Some of these LLMs spit out code and produce results pretty quick. Other ones seem to think a little harder and come out with, either similar or maybe a little better results. I don't know. It's back and forth. Anyway, carrying on. I start over here with this prompt kit that I have, and my favorite prompt to use is this design pattern application, because design patterns really help a lot, especially just in tooling, so I understand what's doing what, what's used for what, etc., etc. I know how to change it. I expanded the prompt, so it always starts with, as a expert prompt engineer, craft a detailed prompt for applying the command pattern in C++. No need for examples. Just explain thoroughly how the pattern works, its intent, and how the implementation needs to operate efficiently. This is for a code writing LLM that will generate the code in a project to refactor a series of if-else statements. All new classes must be separated into files and organized in the project directory in a meaningful way. Make sure the output from the prompt does not exceed 200,000 token context window of the consuming LLM. So it spit out this prompt, which is, after looking it over, it's fine. I can live with that. I think for the sake of this project, we are going to keep this include and source architecture in the file system. Now, I know I kind of went on and on in the other videos how I don't like this and I do things differently, but this is already here. Okay, this kind of represents how a lot of code bases are. I don't think it's worth the effort to separate that now. That's more of a thing that I would do as I'm designing something. Now, the purpose is, what if this project was an actual large project that somebody put together with AI or inherited as a developer somewhere? You bought some code, open source stuff, whatever it is. It's a lot of work to be able to split these things out and understand them. Would it be beneficial? Absolutely. But it's not necessary. So we're going to skip that. We're going to leave all of this alone. We're going to leave the architecture alone with the file system. And here I've written up the final prompt to Claude, and we're going to let Claude handle this. Completely refactor the process args function by implementing the command design pattern. Take your time and think hard about the design. Here's the prompt to fully understand the pattern clearly. And I pasted it. So let's see how well Claude does at refactoring this. And I'm sure I could have written these prompts much better, but we're early in this. I'm learning. We're learning. Hopefully we're going to continue learning, and we're just going to see how well this works. Okay, Claude's done. And I have to say, I was just watching it think and how it did things. And I was looking at this file and it went blank. And I said, uh-oh. And I thought, what happened? Did it delete the file and change? And I went up that big long file. We're down to 58 lines, and that's with a couple unnecessary spaces. I'm impressed. I love it. I love this. I can now confidently basically ignore this file from now on. This entire file, the power of this refactor. If there's an error in this, we can catch it now, right? That's fine. We'll debug. It's very simple. Put the arguments into context, parse the context, send it to the factory, build the commands, send the commands to the invoker, and execute. That's it. So there's not really a whole lot of logic here, right? This is amazing. There's, 20 lines of code here. And we can effectively ignore this file from this point on, because now we understand it doesn't do anything. I mean, nothing complicated. So let's look at the files it made. And just threw the commands in here, which is fine. Like we said, we're keeping the structure like this, include. So kind of the value, see how these headers, okay, we have action. Sorry, I'm still looking at this for the first time. The commands are mainly this. These are just definitions, right? And they're all the same. So once you look at one of these definitions, it's kind of nice to be able to come up here to the include directory and go, bloop, I'm done. Now I'm in the source directory, and you can basically focus on the functionality, right? So now we can just focus on one thing at a time. This is set config action command. So it did bundle all of these action commands into one file. I'm not a massive fan of that. Kind of wish I like seeing like a pre-built map of this. Instead of, if else. I know it's not a big deal. It's not a huge deal. I'd rather just see a map, but this is why the map gets a little funky. I know there's a better way to do this, but this is a really good start, right? So we can definitely count this as a win, mainly because this file now, it just moved the complexity out. So if something's wrong with the version, change the version, fix it. I'm going to take some time and look through this. Perhaps we can find more content. But let's say, it's a little deceiving, right? We have action commands, command context, command factory. It says commands. I maybe there should be another directory in here for, actions, and then have just a list of actions. These should be files, just so I can come over here and say, oh, okay, there's a bunch of actions and this is what they do, right? Instead of having to parse this file. Y'all know I'm not a huge fan of doing that. One refactor at a time. Our goal was to refactor this into the command using the command pattern, and I think we did that successfully. In upcoming episodes, we're probably going to go through these and try to clean this up a little bit. Being such a simple app, I'm not sure how much further we're going to go with it, but there are other things. We didn't even get into the password generation part yet. We're still in the organizational bootstrap, get everything configured and running step. So maybe we'll dive into that. But first, I want to clean this up. I'm willing to bet that this is mostly where you're going to find some bugs. And then we're going to go and make sure that when we want to change algorithms or entropy or anything further down the line, we want to make sure code like that is easy to change and add things. That's probably going to be the most critical section of the code, only for that reason. So basically, what I like to do is find the hotspots. Where are code changes going consistently, or where are changes made consistently? Where are we adding functionality consistently? Like, where are those little hot points where people are always, those files that people are touching? There are tools out there to kind of see that and understand that. You can even look in Git to see that. But basically, as the architect, you should know that yourself to say, I've introduced these interfaces so you can easily add features. So when you do that, you make sure that the architecture supports it in such a way that there's minimal effect on the rest of the system. Meaning, I write a new feature, I add new feature tests without touching 99.9% of the rest of the module. Unless there's a bug fix or something that you have to sort of weave through there, you should be mostly abstracted from everything else. And those are the things that we're going to kind of look into moving forward in future videos. Well, if you enjoyed this, drop a like, subscribe. It helps the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.